Hold on to your baskets or any other body part in 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Nitty Gritty with your hosts, Marc Graue
and Deb Munro, a podcast with no boundaries that tells it like it is.
This ain't your mama's show.
This is the Nitty Gritty.
Hi, everybody. I'm Deb Munro, and this is...
Nitty Gritty. That's it.
Oh, no, that's Marc Graue, and this is the Nitty Gritty.
I'm Marc Graue, and this is the Nitty Gritty. I knew there was something.
Not that anybody doesn't know who you are, of course.
I'm the Nitty Gritty. No,
you're like a household name, you know?
Yeah. When you stub your toe, Marc Graue.
Fucking Marc Graue.
I get that a lot. That was great, too.
That was our household stub toe name.
Perfect. Yes, I get that a lot.
Listen, I thought today the One Voice Awards came out today. For those of you listening, this might be forever ago, but the One Voice Awards came out the other day. And I thought this would be a great time for us to talk about awards because awards are an interesting thing. In fact, we brought it up on the radio show on VO Radio the other day where, you know, there is I think I'm going to start saying this. I think actors really love to be appreciated. I think that there is somewhere along the line that most actors didn't feel appreciated or look for that appreciation one way or the other. And so I think that's our commonality, all of us. We want to be appreciated for our skills, our performances. One thing I always thought about with fame is that I think as an actor, again, we want to be respected and valued for what we do, but that doesn't mean we want you to invasively know everything about our lives and you know, dig in there. That's the problem with fame, is it becomes an entitlement to the viewers of they own you, and that's not the case. So I think a lot of actors, especially on camera, really do get honored when they get an award, whether it's a nomination or the actual award, whether that's from a very prestigious award or a smaller award. It's that little sense of you're doing a great job. But one thing I was saying about it, when I first entered SOVAs, so SOVAs is our awards, our bigger awards for the voiceover industry. And when I first entered the very first year, I won, and I'm very grateful for that. And I didn't realize at the time you had to pay. I had no idea you had to pay for awards. So I was actually quite angry. I'm like, what? I have to pay for this? This is so, first of all, I felt embarrassed submitting myself.
You won. Here's
like, like I felt weird submitting myself. I'm not ego-based. I'm not full of myself in any way, shape, or form. I definitely want adoration, or not adoration, I guess, appreciation for my craft, and I think I'm good at what I do, but I was already uncomfortable submitting it on my own behalf. Now add on top of it that I have to pay. Not only did I have to pay to submit, then pay to get my award, which at that time was probably cheap compared to what it is now. Now that actual award from SOVAs is actually from the Academy Awards company, so you're getting a really solid trophy here. But what does that do for voice actors? Now, Marc, you are a multi winner, correct, with awards?
Yeah, the big was the Lifetime Achievement Award from SOVAs,
yeah,
which was
huge. Like that one's what a beautiful honor for you. By the way, congratulations.
I had to let them know too. I am still alive. You realize that? Yes.
Did it make you feel old? Did it make you feel old?
Of course it did. It's like, you know, this 50+ year career or whatever it was. That's great. You're like, I'm tottering up to the stage.
Shit. I just never thought of that. I actually thought, because you know, I'm 54 at the time when we're recording this, and so I don't feel I'm old. I'm aging. There's no question. But if I got a lifetime achievement now, I haven't done as much as you. I would still feel really proud of it. I don't know that I feel old.
It all rests in your head. I mean, it's honestly, it's and I know everybody goes, oh, well, it's just, but seriously, I've never really given it much thought either way, as far as age wise. It's like whatever. The interesting thing with that is I think it's wonderful to get kudos from other people in the industry, and I think that's really that part of it is really, really nice. You will see a lot of people tagging things with, you know, award-winning, you know, nominated, and I think that's a good thing to have. It shows that. You know, it puts you a little bit above it's like you've kind of risen to the top a bit. And so somebody, you know, glancing through, looking, going, oh, that's great. The interesting thing is, I don't think it has really much value to agents. I don't think they push that. They don't grab a hold of that and go, oh, here, let me push this client, because of that. And there is definitely on all awards, there is a political aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, I think an awful lot of voting kind of stuff turns into, I mean, you always try and recuse yourself from anything that like if I'm voting for stuff, I don't vote for obviously any demos or video game character, that kind of stuff, because that's what I just said. That's kind of a weird, unless I'm not involved with it at all. And then that's fine. Cause then it's, but it turns into very much like, they're so nice. And you kind of vote for that person because you like them, not necessarily because the work is great.
Exactly.
And we're all just human, but we're all just human. And so we kind of do that and gravitate towards, it's like, oh, I'd vote for, I like Deb. Sure, I've known her a while. That's good. Yeah, I would vote for, that's great. And that I think happens a lot. I think some of the awards have gotten to the point where they are so lengthy and so long. I mean, I think the Silvis Awards are phenomenal. It's great, but you can't have, 412 audiobook categories. It's like, with the best use of vowels, it's like, really?
And that's got to be hard for the administration, because they're going to hear from people. As much as we're grateful for awards, we're also the people that go back and say, how come there's not this? How come there's not this? And so they're trying to please everybody.
Absolutely.
But you're right. It's way too much. It's way too long, way too much. They should have their own. At this point, I think Silva should separate to an audiobook category, because it's its own genre. It's its own thing.
Absolutely. And there's things like that people, but there are an awful lot of VO people that do commercial work and animation and video games and stuff that I don't do audiobooks.
Yeah.
I did a couple of kids books just because I was asked to.
We don't have time.
Well, it's a very lengthy process. And it's not we used to record a lot of this way back when I was first starting out. There was a company called Dev Audio, and I used to, produce, so where they just sent somebody over and would produce, direct. And then of course, now we're talking about editing 1/4-inch tape, which would take, 5 years.
Oh my God, I thought editing was bad. Digital with an audiobook. Oh
ridiculous. You got little pieces up all over. Here's a breath, here's a longer breath. Here's a pause, here's a chapter break, it was a little stupid.
Which means the talent had to be really damn good, because the editing would have been a bitch. Wow.
Well, the funny thing is with that really hones your licks, and what it does is it fine tunes your ears.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anything to look at. All you can do is listen and go, nope, that's not working. Nope, you're missing a downbeat. And that's one of the arguments I always get into with engineers, studio-wise, et cetera. Is like, no, you're missing. Yeah, but look, don't look at it, listen to it.
Yeah.
There's missing just in which, and what happens is if it's a bad edit, the hair on your neck goes up, and it's like, oh God, no, fix it. And just that little quarter note or whatever, goes, okay, it's just a seamless thing that's right there that you don't really notice because you're not supposed to, unless you want something that's very forceful. But, I think overall, I think the Academy, the award ceremonies, I think are good to have. I think I think some people will walk into that with very high expectations of the, what they're going to get, the return on investment, their ROI. And I sometimes it's not necessarily quite as big. It's a wonderful, wonderful genre and meaning for, like, making acquaintances and stuff, getting out of your booth, because it can be isolating, as we know, being especially people that record solely from home.
It's a camaraderie.
And so that part of it is wonderful. You forge a lot of very good friendships and stuff. But
I think you're getting to the point of which is really the whole principle here. It's just like social media. When you're posting your demo on social media, are you really advertising to the right person? It's great between ourselves as voice actors that we are recognizing each other, but that isn't the client recognizing us. And that's really who matters.
That brings up a very interesting point, a little off track here. And that is, I always tell clients, don't post on social media. Do not post your demo up there. Well, it's like, because anybody that does this for a living, you don't see people that are in that hierarchy posting their demos on stuff. Very, very, unless it's, a new something new, a new visual reel, that's got,
Yeah.
pieces or something, fine. But because all people are going to do is naturally, it's everybody's natural inclination to pick stuff apart. And
Yes,
so,
of course.
and then you're getting criticism
Yeah.
from people who are not, they're not
They're
buyers. They
relevant.
have nothing to do with hiring you. And I
Mhm.
always say, save it for the client, save it for the buyer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's
You
kind of
know,
that same thing when we're like short of a significant difference here still, because if I can say to a client I'm an award-winning talent, that definitely perks their ears up, because they assume now that they're getting someone who's substantial, that can pull off the job. That's really what it's giving, is a bit of a credential. But if
Mhm.
I'm telling other talent or agents or anything else that I'm award-winning, it like you said with the agents, it doesn't have that clout. It's great, but that becomes a peer-to-peer thing versus where we really need it to matter. And where it really needs to matter is in a marketing perspective.
Well, and that's like we were talking about before we came on. We were discussing this with Academy Awards. It actually, if you win an Academy Award, it proportionally affects how much money you're going to make on a film,
That's right.
what kind of films you're offered. In
It
this case,
increases the
with
company, the films, it increases their chance of getting it seen.
Sure, and your audience is going to be much broader. With voiceover and in a one that's not the case. That really doesn't have a big. I mean, it's a great thing to put up there.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. People look and go, "Oh, wow, that's great." But very similar to the Academy Awards, as again, like we were talking about, within 5 or 6 years, you go, "Who? Oh yeah, they won for Best Supporting, didn't they? Or who was that? You're not sure.
Yeah.
It's like the moment, yeah, it's great, and then that kind of dissipates. And again, I think the biggest thing to me with things like that, I think, is the camaraderie, where you get a chance
Yeah.
to get out and meet people. The other thing that's good with that, and that is for somebody like myself with a studio. Um, I get a lot of emails from people and going, "Hey man, I just haven't heard back from you. What's going on?" And it's like, look, not to be dickish, but it's like, I've never worked with you.
Yeah.
I don't know what your ability is, and it's like, I'm not trying to sound elitist. Oh
Yeah.
God, I said it's no that, but it's like there's a lot on the line. If we've got a client sitting there and I book you and you're not up to what
We
you
know. Yeah.
claimed you were, that can be a
That's a problem.
major hindrance. So again, the word ceremony, sometimes it gives you a chance to work with some people, kind of see what they're capable of. Oh, wow, man, this person's amazing. Wow, I would hire that person in 2 seconds. And then
Yeah.
there's others that, we laugh, we always call it American Idol syndrome. And then it's like, it's like being tone deaf. And it's like, no, you're not. Yes, I am too. I'll show. Screw, you don't even know. I've got more talent in my little finger than you have in your whole body. Screw you. And they get very indignant. And it's like, okay, sorry, bad finger. I mean, it's like, so, there is that element
Yeah.
that, in some cases you will kind of get, a little bit on the other hand too, it's very rushed. There's a lot going on. I mean, it's basically, if you are a presenter or doing something, you're going from this to this to this to this to this to this to this. It's a pretty busy, kind of
All of
a
ours.
thing.
Yeah.
And even, an award ceremony is wonderful, the black tie kind of a thing. And it's wonderful. And I think it's great to go out and give kudos to everyone. And sometimes you see people that you've only seen online and stuff, and that's great. But again, it's pretty quick. It's
Yeah.
not like you guys are hanging out for, a week or so. And
Yeah.
most of those, sometimes you get a little more time, to
Mhm.
hang out, but most of the time, no, it's pretty much down, boom, that's it, bump, bump, bump.
And
And,
here's
and
the
so,
interesting thing too, when you look at SOVAs, which is the most recognized of all the awards that we have for prestige, and uh, clients don't even know what a SOVAs is. They don't understand what the hell
right.
like, what is that? And so I'm sure their goal, and they've done a great job with the company, I'm sure their goal is to grow it so that it is part of the Academy Award. So it becomes that type of a category, if you will, where it does have that prestige and does give that same marketing value for the clients, because that's really what makes the awards work, is it gives a marketing potential for the clients, because now when they put that project on the air, more people are apt to watch that movie, apt to watch that cartoon, apt to watch whatever that show is, because it has some accolation to it. But let's go back to what you were saying before too about, you know, first of all, I want to just clarify that as much as I was taken back by having to pay for an award, because I've put on events myself, I get it. You know, someone has to pay for that black tie affair. Someone has
But
to
see, but
pay
the
for all
Academy
of that.
Awards, you have to pay for those as well. But
Exactly, you
usually
have to pay,
it's not
and a
the
huge
song
amount of money.
doing it. It's
It's not even
the
small.
manager, it's the production company, that
Yeah.
whoever that's paying for
Well,
obviously. So
that's
that,
what I wish it was more so. So, you know, I have another talent who's won several, and she was explaining that the company that she had submitted on behalf of, that she worked with, they paid for those awards. Okay, well, now that makes some sense because
sure.
the clients are the ones making the money off the project. We're making an amount off of our role, but really if we can have it so that the clients are paying for that, they can write it off in a different way than even, well, I'm sure we can write it off much the same, but
For
they
sure.
can probably justify that cost a lot more than we can as sole entrepreneurs. So it'd be nice if it was, if most of the awards, not all, had to be submitted from a client and get the clients involved. I think that would be much more prestigious. I think that would be much more of a compliment to me if I was nominated by a client versus via myself, right? Like that's what I
That's
think.
a very, very different. Now it goes back to if pay was what it was back in
Yeah,
the 80s and 90s, where you were making, I mean, whether it was
good
a
money
video
for
game
that. Yeah,
animation, I mean, you were making serious money,
yeah,
a lot of money doing stuff. That's especially with non-union stuff, and then that's not getting into a union versus non-union discussion here, but non-union paying
changed it.
less.
Yeah,
Obviously, that client, if they're paying you, $1,000 even to do a character, they're not going to go in and pay 300 and whatever, to enter you in award ceremony,
true.
because it's like, okay, what's that going to
What's
do
their
for
benefit
us?
to them? Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
exactly.
we're looking for how many hits we can get online, what's the
Yeah,
viewership, how many
yeah.
people streaming, that kind of thing.
Exposure.
So
Yeah,
it's
very
so it is.
interesting.
It's a very, very thin line between
Mhm.
what are the advantages of this, and what exactly is this going to do?
I'd be
You
very
know.
curious if the sports awards are the same way. Like, I wonder if the sports awards, they have to nominate themselves because it's very interesting that most of the, at least the accolade award shows, are
Right.
actors and sports people, entertainers, more than anything else. You don't see dentist awards too often. You don't see, you know what I mean? Psychologist
Well,
awards.
I mean, you do. They're probably all
It
out
probably
there.
is. Yeah.
We go, but sure. Within, and it's very similar within that field, and within the voiceover field. Obviously, the Silvis Awards are good. One Voice is great. All of that kind of stuff. That those all come into to play, and people are excited about
Yeah,
entering and
of
being
course.
nominated and that kind of thing.
In
Which I
fact,
think is
we got nominated just recently for the gaming demo you did for me. So, and thank you for submitting that. I missed the
absolutely.
deadline on that one, so that was really nice.
Well, that was the talent end. That was you, not on this end. It was
Well,
just
you know, it is performance, but honestly, every time I listen to that demo, it's like, oh, Mark just kicks ass, man. He knows how to tell a story
well,
musically. It's
it's but that's just grabbing attention, and
yeah,
that's what you want to do with
yeah,
anything.
exactly.
But I think the awards thing. I mean, there's something inherently wonderful about hearing your name and going up and being called. I mean, getting again the
Of
Silver's
course.
the lifetime achievement thing. Yeah, that was a big. It was like, wow,
That's a great
that
one.
was
That one's
that was
huge.
very that was a sweet. Very, very, heartfelt. Joe Montana, but presented it and stuff, which was very sweet. And so it was nice. It was a really,
Yeah,
really. I
I
can't.
can't imagine.
That
Yeah,
wasn't. I mean, that was great. But I mean, I've won other stuff for demos and that kind of stuff, and it's wonderful. And
out of the
and
back,
kudos to the people that are. I mean, I may be winning as a producer, but it's more for the talent. I
of
mean,
course.
that's because that's really what that's about.
Yeah.
And so I think that in many cases, again, I just think sometimes you go in because none of these conferences and none of the awards are inexpensive.
Yeah,
You're making a
costly.
serious
Yeah,
investment. And if it's set up where you feel that you're really getting a return for what you're doing, and you're getting some tidbits and walking away with, this and this, and wow, this is great, and I learned that, then I think then that's
that's
well
great.
worth it.
Yeah,
But awards, sometimes I mean, personally, yes, and within the industry, I think it's wonderful. Like you said, yes, I'm an award-winning voiceover artist.
yeah.
But outside of that,
It has no
it's like, I mean,
relevance.
I've
Yeah,
got a whole table sitting over here of stuff,
yeah.
and it's like,
And no one ever sees them. Yeah.
nope,
That's
nope,
like some,
I
uh,
don't even have them behind me online. So it's like,
yeah.
yeah,
That's like Anthony on VO Radio was talking about how he had won a lot of awards as a kid, lots of sports awards and stuff like that. And over time, I love my favorite part was the ex got one. So
Yeah.
over time, everybody got one, right? And then he has nothing left or a broken thing. And now what does it mean? So isn't it interesting that our craft, as far as actors, period, I mean, film, on behind scenes, whatever way, and then sports entertainment has that profound need for that appreciation. You know what I mean? Like it seems like that because they are the awards that have made themselves known versus, like I say, the dentist awards, the psychologist awards, they're more private, they're more intimate. We voice a lot of that stuff all the time too. You just don't hear about that stuff, right?
Well, it's interesting though too, because back to even just socially, we put so much store in, sports guys. A guy playing basketball is making, 300 million a year, and a teacher that can, barely get. It's like, well, it just seems sometimes our priorities aren't exactly where they. And again,
actually, not even the teachers. My daughter's a nurse now, and she has hurt her back so many times, and she's making $30 an hour. I make more than money than she does, and she's working way harder. And it's so sad how we devalue certain like teachers and nurses.
Well, it's not even necessarily devalue, but it's just we don't put enough store in what
but people will pay $2,000 for a game and go see a game, but they won't pay that to get their health care fixed. They're fighting that tooth and nail. And it's like, wow.
I have a buddy who was, in the Navy, was a heavy duty firefighter guy on a carrier. I mean, he actually got a medal for saving people's lives. A plane came down and exploded. I mean, he's got some burn. I mean, the guy's an amazing, and he goes, man, I just, man, every time you talk about what you're doing, I'm just so in, and it's like, dude, you're the hero. You were out saving people. I just sit on my fat ass in a room and talk about it, So it's like, and yet that's like, oh my God, that's, and people are very enamored with it. It's just because it's something different that most people don't do. But it's, it's weird too to sit in a room when you have a project that you've poured your heart into, that you feel this thing absolutely is stellar. Yeah. And yet, because of whatever the politics are, nope, not happening. And you just grin and bear it and go, oh, okay, that's just, it's okay.
I think you kind of brought up a point that I meant to discuss as well, is that I feel the fact that I get to sit at home and voice for a living, I know majority of your career has been in studio, even though it's been your own, a lot of it. For me, a lot of it at home, I feel that is my award. Like, sure. I've got a big award, man. I've got to sit at home, make my own hours, make my own career, decide it for myself, be in charge of it, have a ton of fun doing it. I love what I do every day. There isn't a day goes by that I don't love that part of it. And so that is such an award, and not everybody gets that. And that's why they are fascinated by what we do. Hence this guy's story. Like, he's done, oh my God, things that we just couldn't even imagine. Sure. And yet they're going, oh, I wish. And we're like, wow, well, we didn't do that. So it's very interesting how everything is a perspective depending on what you do it. But I really do believe that our award is always that we actually get to do this, because I just think it's a gift. Not everybody gets.
I think it's that, and I think it's amazing too. Sometimes I don't think we realize how much impact stuff we do has on people. I mean, I get letters from, parent that are like, my child has cancer or something, and this, but he loves, playing this video game, or she loves it. Is there any way you could say? It's like, oh my God, of course, I'll drive and talk to him. I mean, it's like, seriously, and it's heart-rich. Part of you kind of goes, really? Well, I mean, this is what you're going through, and you want me to. Yeah. Why? It's like, seriously, I was just standing in a room talking, and then the other part goes, oh my God, of course I would. Yes. I'll whatever you want.
Let's look at cons. Let's bring cons in as an example. I mean, when we
I know a number of them. They're all over Hollywood. Oh, sorry.
When we go to anything like a Comic-Con or an Animathon or anything like that, I think that's where I realized I didn't want to be famous, because I always wanted to be famous. I wanted to be Canada's Oprah. I wanted to be a talk show host. I wanted to save the world one conversation at a time, if you will, and just be that vessel. And then when I did Dragon Ball, I had my character and I was speaking at a convention. I had my character, I was walking around with my character, and I don't do a lot of major animations. I'm not very known in that regard. And so this girl came up crying, wanting to touch me. And I was like, instead of being what I thought, I always wanted to be famous. That's what I thought I always wanted. But when that happened, I felt uncomfortable for probably the first time ever. I was like, whoa, 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 stop crying. No, I'm just you and me. Like, we're just human here. There's nothing special about me. And so I felt weird because she was idolizing. And so what I see in the Comic Cons, for example, or any of the animathons with the fans, the anime fans especially, these are the diehards. Like, we're talking the Star Trek conventions from the past. This is where they've all kind of gone into. They're video game addicted, they're anime addicted, but they are in love with the craft. And what's really interesting is we think it's us that they're in love with, but it's really not. It's the characters that are brought to life that they're in love with. But they will do everything for free to be at these conventions. They will do everything they can, and they idolize voice actors. And, I think there's a lot of great in that. There's a lot of bad in that for me, in the sense of I feel uncomfortable in it. But I also feel like what great appreciation that these people are so enamored by what we do and what the clients create for us to do, that they will spend all the money they have to go to these conventions with zero return. There is zero return. They're paying $25 to $200 for an autograph. They are financially setting a lot of people up for life because of what they've done with this character or how they brought this story to life. Like,
see, and that brings up an interesting thing too that I'm sure I will get a lot of shit about.
Well, let's do that.
I've never charged for an autograph, because I just think it's like,
I think it's ridiculous.
I mean, it's like if you're the one that's supporting I have a career.
I'm right there with you, man. Let me.
And it's like, hey, I've got posters all printed up of characters that I've done and da-da-da, and it's like, sign it. Hell yeah, of course I will. You absolutely positively.
And these lineups at the cons, as you know,
I've just never been one to. It's like, no, that's fine. It's okay. And
I feel the same way.
To me, that's just an awkward.
Me too.
Situation. I mean, it's like, if you want somebody to sign some, sure, absolutely, that's fine. If you want a picture, of course, whatever you want to do. But charging for that, I've always thought was a little. But again, that's.
I feel the same way. I don't.
Everybody's probably going to go, that's because nobody would ever sign any. They don't want you. They don't give a shit. Of course,
that would be me. Nobody needs my signature for anything. But I would feel the same way because, I just feel like we've already done the job. We've already done the work. We've already been paid for the work. Now it's really the client's project at this point. It's not our project anymore. It's something that we were a part of, and we're honored to be a part of that. So it's very interesting how, again, that idolization comes from the audience. The audience.
Well, I think it's neat that like you were saying, with the voice actor. I think that's wonderful that they idolize it and think that that's wonderful and love that. But there's so many more pieces to that entire puzzle, as far as the animators and the story people and the direction and there's a lot of different moving parts there.
And
when you're
don't
just
get that
in front of that. Yeah. And so it's an interesting, but again, back to the award ceremonies. I think that we all, especially as voice actors, it's interesting that it's the be careful what you wish for. You hear people go, God, I just want to do this, and the fame and the debt. And I've got some lots of big famous people, friends, as far as, that are on camera people. And it's not a very pleasant, because it's like you'll be in the car with them and it's like, hey, well, here we'll stop. It's like, I'll jump out and get, because it'll create a shitstorm and people will go nuts.
Can't just go into a normal store. Can't just go.
No. And after a while, that sounds wonderful, but it's not. I remember years and years and years and years ago doing an interview with Sting. And it was interesting what he said. He goes, you have to be very careful of handling fame from a standpoint, and I don't mean pertaining to us, but he just said, when you reach a certain level, you can ask for anything, and unless you are very leveled within yourself, you'll kill yourself, because you can go, I'd like to throw a monkey and have heroin, and they'll go, that's great, and it's there, and it's like, what? And
it's funny you say that, because people don't realize until they're in it. Like, I'm in a local band, It's a local freaking band. Like, it's a local band. We got 150,000 people here. It ain't that big of a deal. We're known in our city, which is great. Yay, yay, yay. But people are always trying to give me stuff, whether it's pot, whether it's shoes, whether it's clothes, whatever it is. They always want me to wear their clothes. And as much as that's, kind of cool, I always say to them, listen, I can afford more than you can. Why are you giving me something? Like, here, I mean, I don't say that to them, but my head is like, listen, I don't need this at all. Now, when it's their own outfit or something, they want me to wear a belt, or okay, fine. Because I wear really classy, risque stuff, if you will. Like, I wear it risque, but classy, very hard rock, edgy, I guess. I
love what you got on. Where do I put the
yeah, you know it. I dress edgy, but it's amazing how many people want to give us stuff. Like, they keep wanting to give us stuff. And so that's that same feeling of that celebrityism. Now, for me, I don't like hierarchy. I really don't. I don't believe in it. I believe in it in business, and then that's the end, because I don't believe I'm better than anybody, and I don't believe anybody's better than me. So I don't like idolization for that reason. And I feel sometimes that we can get to that place if we do win too many awards, or if we get, we get to that ego place where we think they're better than, and there's no such thing in my opinion.
It's better. Funny if you see there's a long time that says the legendary Marc Graue, and
Yes.
let me explain where that came from. It was actually Elliot Gould years and years ago walking and seeing all of the pictures, and he goes, "My
Yes.
God, you're legendary." And that's
Now,
where that.
listen, let me explain for people who don't know. If you guys ever walk into Marc Graue's studio, it is a picture of him and celebrities everywhere. Like, it is so cool. I love it myself. I love it. I just think it's so cool.
Well, now it's all been digitized to clean it up a little bit. So it's
Oh,
all
really? Oh my God. Well, just gives so much personality to the studio. I just think I love the smile on your face every time. Like, you can just see you're having a great time with it. It just shows a lot of personality. Sorry to interrupt.
Well,
you.
how can you? But that I just meant that in that respect, because you go, well, you done it, and it was like, well, that was kind of a thing that was thrown out there. And on the other end of the spectrum too, I'm an old guy now, so screw it. I can be that way if I want. But I
Legendary
can't.
doesn't make you the best, though. It just makes you
No,
one of.
not at all. No,
It's a
not
one
even
of, right? Like, I
close,
think it's okay to be, in the top of your game, but you can never be the best, because there will always be someone better,
No,
brighter, and faster than you. But you can
absolutely,
be the best of what
positively.
you can do, right? That's all you can do.
It doesn't even, it's like there's, all of that dissipates, and there's a changing of the guard, and there's all of that kind of stuff. But it's, the whole thing is, I always tell people that the biggest factor in life is never reach a point where you go, gosh, I wish I would have.
Yeah.
Do whatever the hell that would have is. And then when you look back, I don't have a single regret.
Yeah, I
Now,
don't regret anything.
there was a couple of days that probably didn't go well,
but no, but maybe I should have
but I mean, no, seriously, I mean, it really, is one of those things that, that's the journey that we're all on, which is really sad that we're all so incredibly divided over horse shit. I'm amazed with politics. Well, you're a I'm not, and it's like, so you're not going to talk to this person because of their political views?
So
really? Like, when did we make that?
I don't know when that happened. Doesn't it feel like it's just over? Like, listen,
no.
whenever I would go to the States, when I was traveling in the States a long time, like almost 20 years ago now, whenever I would travel, always my US friends would always say, want to talk to me about politics or the healthcare system or religion, one of the three things. And for me, at my age at the time in Canada, I definitely wasn't having those conversations with anybody here. No one gave a shit. Now, all of a sudden, we have turned into a very divided nation in Canada, which was never happened. I don't know if it was COVID or what the frick happened, but it feels like ever since COVID happened, all of a sudden, the province in which I came from, my friends are all splitting up, and it's all over politics. And I'm just like, wow, I don't understand.
And I don't understand. I mean, you can still like somebody and have a conversation.
What's the big deal?
Just don't talk about politics. It's like, I don't. And people assume if you say anything negative about their, well, then you're just, and it was like, whoa, that was certainly a large jump. It's like, no, that's not, that isn't the case at all. But yet it's immediate. I think we were talking at one point about online stuff as far as social sites, and somebody, posting, wow, I had a cheeseburger last night.
Yes.
It's like, you fucking cow killer. I mean, it's like, what? How did you get that out of this? Where did that come from? You know, so it goes, and again, circling back to
Yes.
awards, there are people that have that very
That
similar
mentality.
feelings, because there's very, as much as, and even with actors, as much as we like to, talk about the camaraderie of voice actors, it is a
Not
very giving
always.
committee,
That's right.
kind of community, a very giving community. There is a lot of love. There is and there is an immense amount of backstabbing bullshit,
And
and
drama.
very distinct camps.
Yeah.
And this or you did,
That.
they went dead. Well, yeah, they don't even know what the hell they've done. Well, that's bullshit. And very, and it's like, now when you see,
Very
hey,
opinionated industry.
oh yeah, and it's like, and everybody has their own. I remember having a hell of an upward battle doing voiceover, because I owned a studio, and so
Yeah.
everybody knew me for
So
the studio.
wrong,
So I
which
would
is
go
so
into
wrong.
Nickelodeon, be sitting there, and somebody would come in and go, "What? So what are you doing
What
here?"
are
I
you
said,
doing?
"Well, auditioning, man." Well, what? Seriously? I mean, I thought you
Yeah.
owned a fucking studio. And it was like, well, I do, but I've been doing
That
voiceover
one I
longer
don't
than
get
I've
that
owned a
one. You've told me
studio.
about that one before, and that one I don't get. I get when you're an agent, but when you're a studio, I don't understand the contradiction there, because any studio member would tell you, and I know you know this firsthand, but any studio member will tell you there's so many times when studio technicians have to voice because something happened, they needed a quick pickup, they
Right.
needed a quick,
Well,
so
the difference
it's
is with that is that
natural for
I was
studios
doing
to
voiceovers
voice.
long before I had the
And the
studio.
studio,
I was in
exactly.
radio, did that whole thing, had a whole cast of characters long before the Howard
They go
Sterns and
hand in hand.
that the door would fly open and go, I can't believe, now apologize on the air. It's like, okay. But so that's kind of, the studio portion, quite honestly, I just looked at that as that's my steady
Yeah,
annuity.
that's exactly, and it's industry
And I
related.
want I want something that I can have, that I can step back from
That's right.
and go do other things, and I don't have to be there. And
Well, and look
that's
at
and
this. You get to retire
that's
your studio and keep it forever, but yet you get to retire. Whereas your voice, once your voice is retired, you're not keeping it forever. It's done.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was brilliant.
And but the
Brilliant.
interesting thing with voice is a lot of people, Dawes Butler, everybody, Dawes, we did the last Jetsons, and he was well into his 80s, still doing Elroy. Hi,
Yeah,
you guys.
that's
And he
true.
just had that voice like this, and it was like
Point.
you'd never know. The only thing that was so macabre about it is they all had their oxygen tanks. The director goes, oh, okay, great. And they'd all, it was a very surreal, weird session, you know.
Well,
But you can, kind of, hang in there for
forever.
quite
Yeah.
and pretty much do it as long as you want. I think
Yeah.
the biggest thing is with all of this and words, et cetera, is to not, and this is a very, very, very hard thing for everyone to do, and that is not define yourself by your last job or
Yeah.
define yourself by what you're doing. You are a human, love life, love your partner, love
That's true.
love going out to dinner, go on vacation, whatever that may be.
Mhm.
And it's not just, I can't tell you how many times I haven't seen, say, hey, buddy, how you been, man? Well, I just finished. I don't care what you've been doing. I asked, how are you?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
people in this, it's very easy to define
Yeah,
yourself.
very
And
true.
of course, I mean, I'm thrilled to still be working and doing lots of
Yeah.
stuff and some high profile projects, and all that kind of stuff is awesome. I love
Of
that.
course.
That's,
Well, again,
it's
that's the
still,
compliment, right?
although I bitch about it because I'm old and it's saying, I don't want to have 4 hours of that shit. What do you mean starting to say,
It's
that's
true.
crap.
Isn't that the sad part? It's like, oh my God, I got a
You know,
5-hour job.
I know, and
Oh,
25 years ago we would have killed. Oh God, please, please, please.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, woo.
Well, and truth be told, you lived in the roughest market in the entertainment industry. You lived in a very dog eat dog market that is very much bred to be dog eat dog. That's just the norm of of life there, because I think a lot of people really, I remember when I lived in Calgary, so I didn't live in a major market. I lived in a medium market. Vancouver, Toronto are our major markets in Canada. And I wanted jobs that were going to Vancouver, and I didn't understand why I wasn't getting those opportunities. I don't understand. I'm skilled enough. What's the problem? What's the problem? Well, I learned over time that people sacrifice a lot to move to these centers. So people sacrifice a lot to move to LA, a lot to move to New York. They give up a whole bunch. And then, because especially LA, everybody's an actor, every waitress is serving you, they're all doing side jobs to be able to keep a living in between these auditions. Now you're talking a very saturated market of too many to choose from, and everybody's fighting for that work. So there, that old school mentality of film, I think, still is in LA and always has been, because that's the way you guys were raised. That's the industry. It's what it does. It's very competitive. Like, it's extremely competitive there, more than anywhere probably in the world.
Well, which is why it's funny. You're always happy for somebody when they, got the game. And because again, we used to be like voiceover gypsies. We'd all go to the buyers. We'd all go to our casting director, to our agents, and you'd see people, hey, how are you? And the camaraderie was great, but it was always that kind of, it was a running gag where somebody'd go, how you doing? Yeah, I booked that job. It's like, shut up, it's like that kind of, and again, you're happy, if they really did book it. I mean, it's, but at the same time, there is a little bit of like, well, because it is a very competitive business, and that is still there to this very day. You're happy for people. Absolutely. But it is fun to be at a point where, career-wise, for me, I'm much more excited to see somebody else's success genuinely and really and kind of vicariously through them go, oh, that's awesome, man. You booked that, you're gonna get an email going, oh, I signed with an agent, I've just booked this, whatever it may be. It's like, that's great.
Absolutely.
And not have that competitive, like, well, it's like, no, I've been there, done that. That's great. Good for you. Hot damn, here's the torch, run with it.
It's a nice earnship. Well, and that's basically what I'm getting at is, you have an earnship. You survived one of the toughest markets in the industry. And so you guys, I feel anyway, a lot of the veterans, especially in the US market for some reason, but a lot of the veterans of the union world, you guys paved the way, right? You made the path, and then we as non-union changed that path quite a bit, and now it's just such a cluster frick of mess. And so it's still a wonderful industry. There still is that camaraderie. We still have many things that we get to join together on. And for those of you that do see this industry as very, very giving and very collaborative, that is true to a certain degree, but as Marc had said, there are a lot of social dramas because it is a big industry now. It never used to be. It used to be a very small industry, a very handful of people doing this industry, and now it's massive. Now we're in the millions instead of the thousands. And so it changes the game. Everything does get changed. And as we've talked about before, when we add AI to the mix, it's going to change things again and again. So what's really interesting is now we have thousands, if not millions, of people wanting to do our craft. Whereas in the past, no one knew what the hell the craft was. No one understood it to be a craft. So
I think that'll be a whole nother episode. That should be our next episode.
That'll be another episode. We can't help but almost talk about it almost every episode because it's just such a profound thing that's happening that is a change.
The terrible thing is, I don't think anybody is aware of the shitstorm that is coming over that. And you can talk about, the crazy thing is, I just had this conversation with somebody that was like, well, because, they'll never bring that personal touch and the human touch and the this and the emotion to the read. They're not going to have the subtleties. They're not going to be able in a live directed session to be able to give whatever they want. The bottom line, for us as voiceover talent, yes, we're aware that we live that day in, day out. Somebody that's sitting there watching TV doesn't go, well, I'm not feeling the backstory on this McDonald's spot. I think it's bullshit. I mean, it's like, no.
In fact, they're fast forwarding them.
Well, yeah, it's another ad that's just there. So AI, the old school advertising was, run of schedule. How many times you running the ad? Not like, oh my God, it's portraying this incredible element.
That's true. That's true. Emotion. It's all about distribution.
And so that's that's a big thing. But again, the award ceremony, I think with that, enter if you do have something that you're proud of, that you really think is good and worthy of doing that, then absolutely, positively go for it. But I've just kind of learned over the years that it seems like there's definitely a much bigger political element to behind the scenes, like, well,
I
who's
agree.
actually voting for this? And it's like,
Yeah.
so if you came off, kind of dickish online, it's like chances are you're probably not going to do anything,
Personality could
I,
matter
I mean,
here.
well,
It's
I mean,
true.
well, it does, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you hear that all the time with the social media, and it's like, be aware that, and you've heard this quote a million times, but anybody that's can see what you've done online,
That's
and
true.
that will follow you forever. So don't
Forever.
put all your stuff up there and
Yeah.
all of this and that, and it's, I saw things with, okay, well, I have a huge announcement. It's like, make your huge announcement or don't make your huge announcement, but you don't need to make an announcement about not making an announcement.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's
It's so crazy.
it's like,
Which goes
okay,
back to that just goes back to appreciation. People like actors, I think again, their commonality is wanting to be appreciated. So that's why I believe
certainly,
a lot of
sure.
people are out there going, look at me, look at me, look at me, look what I have, look what I have, look what I have. And I feel, we're older, so maybe that's a lot of the reason, but I already appreciate myself. I don't need anybody else to appreciate me any further than that. I appreciate who I am. I know who I am. I've worked hard to be who I am. And so
Well, I still appreciate you, Deb.
yeah, thank you, Mark. I'm so glad. But I do want to talk just briefly about so there's lots of different types of awards out there, guys. There's lots of, but the higher, more known ones in our industry obviously are SOVAs, which are very prestigious and an in-person award show, as well as One Voice that Mark alluded to as well. Now, One Voice is free. Now, first of all, let me just thank Gravy for the Brain and JMC for doing that for free, because that is huge. Like, to do that for free, I don't even know what they're thinking, because as much as I was taken back by the fact that awards cost, now that I have an understanding of the work that goes into it, just to listen from doing the Ultimate VO Survivor for us, we had 2,000 submissions. So we had to go through 2,000 auditions and listen to like, it's hell. That's absolute hell. So when you're doing something that's for free, they're going to get a ton of stuff that's crap, like really bad quality, because people won't
Oh, yeah.
understand. And so someone has to go through and fish all that stuff, create the awards, and again, for it for free. I mean, hopefully they're taking it from the One Voice conference for financial, taking some finances from that. But, thank you for doing stuff like that for free. And I know other companies have done that as well, but there are other companies, and there'll be more award shows in the future as well, I'm sure, because it's taking off and everybody wants to be credited, right?
Well, I think that's absolutely true. It's again, getting kudos for what you do is wonderful. Everybody loves that. You love a pat on the
You
back
want
and
it.
somebody,
Yeah.
hey, that was great, and but don't look at that as the end all. You're still gonna, after that, go back to work on Monday, be
Yeah,
sitting in your booth doing what you
exactly.
do, and kind of back to it.
Well, just the
It's
fact that
not
you booked a job and you're doing this full time is enough award. It
that
really
way. I was
is.
going to say that in itself makes you a success.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
True.
positively. And the
True.
thing you have to realize is that it's not a situation, it's not like the Academy Awards, in the fact
That's
that
right.
you don't win the award on Sunday night and then all of a sudden Monday morning the phone's ringing off the hook going, oh my God, I understand you won it's like, yeah, okay, great.
Exactly.
It's like, and life continues. So
Exactly.
it's and that, I mean, it's just, you continue doing what you're doing. The fact, if you did receive an award, well, obviously it means you're on the right track. So God
Yeah.
bless you. Keep at it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
But even if you didn't win, that's fine. You still were nominated, or you still had, enough to enter an award. That's awesome. I mean, that's a very, very cool.
I think the other thing I'd like to bring up too, I'm not sure for the Sovas as much, because I think Sovas is really changing its prestige, and it's gotten more prestigious every year. We're getting on-camera actors in there, some serious celebrities in there, and stuff. So I think that there's a little bit difference here. But I feel like um, the the awards specifically, I don't usually see a lot of big names on it. Like a lot of veterans of the industry are not submitting awards. So you got to
Right.
think about that for a sec, folks. Why are the veterans not submitting? It's free. It's an accolade. Why are they not submitting? Likely because they don't need those accolades anymore, number one. Number
Right.
two, again, they're not looking for that look who I am, look at me, look at me, look at me, here I am, because they've already gotten that. And again, just the fact that we book, and I believe, especially those in animation and gaming, when you are privileged enough to go do animathons and comic cons and stuff like that, oh my God, that's an award right there. Just from the adoration from the people who purchase your products, the products that you voice in, the people that admire you and thank you for saving them in whatever reason. And like, that is the award. And I hope people can really start learning that they have to give themselves that award before anyone else can give it to them. It's not
Sure.
coming from a board. It has to come from you. And again, I can't repeat enough. If you're booking and doing full time in this industry, I don't care where you're at, how big of a wage you are, how little a wage you are, you've done a big success. And you should be very proud of yourself for that, because that's not an easy task. This is a very driven industry. You have to be very self-driven. You have to love it in order to do it. And you have to go through a lot of no's, that more than you'll ever get yeses. And so
Well, and you're going to get a lot of no's from even people within your inner circle there, whether it's family, a husband, a wife, a brother, a sister, a mom, a dad, that don't understand what you do. My own dad, I think I've told you this story a zillion times, but even my dad was a news guy at Channel 5 in LA. That's where I grew up, on the lot there at KTLA. And he was probably the biggest detractor of me building a studio. He's like, what, people are going to come in and talk and pay you? What are you, an idiot? It's like, nobody's going to do that.
he's in the
How would
industry.
they,
It's so funny. It's so
And he
funny.
didn't, and I think that all changed. I think it was Debbie Reynolds that was there. And then he came in and was like, well, I think coolest story was, he was out smoking a cigarette with this, girl, and they were having, a big conversation, and he comes in and he goes, yeah, boy, she's a really nice guy. I like her a lot. Who did you say that was again? And I go, that was Grace Slick, from Jefferson Airplane, because we were doing a radio show. And he goes, yeah, she's really nice. And I go, I would have loved it 12 years old or whatever it was when you came in and went, turn that shit down. To go, someday you're going to be standing in front of my studio smoking a cigarette with her, and you're going to think she's cool.
Exactly.
Shut up.
It was. Oh my gosh, I have the same thing with Led Zeppelin, because I used to crank Led Zeppelin in my room or whatever, and Mom, turn that shit down. And then Robert Plant comes out with his solo album, and then she goes, oh, Debbie, you've got to hear this guy. And she plays it, and I said, turn that shit down. She goes, what are you talking about? I said, well, that's what you said to me, man. Turn that shit down. That's the same singer. No, it's not. Well, yeah, it is.
Oh yeah. But full
back.
circle moments like that. Honestly, the big thing is, be true to thine own self, and just and keep your eyes on the prize, and award stuff. Sure, along the way, if you feel you want to do that, then go for it. Don't put your self-worth on a piece of metal. That's wonderful, and to get kudos within the industry and people patting you on the back and going, hey, good job. But you know what? You're going to get that anyway from people.
That's right.
And conference stuff is great for that, as far as the camaraderie and seeing people and grabbing a beer, grabbing a drink, grabbing a bite to eat, whatever with somebody. That's awesome. I mean, that's really, really great, and it's fun. But don't pin everything on winning. It's like it's no different than the Academy Award when they show people and they're all very gracious, although occasionally they get the picture of somebody going, oh, fuck, a bunch of shit when they don't win. But it's like, but quite honestly, that's probably more realistic. The action. It's like, what do you mean I didn't win? That piece was great.
If you could actually have a camera or a microphone on everybody at the moment, and they were honest about it, they'd be like, fuck,
sure.
it was shit. And it doesn't mean that you're not happy for the other person.
But mine was better. I mean, it's like, whatever. It's like,
I did better. Sure, I got it this time.
Yeah,
but it is, I see that too with like the voice retreat we just did. We give out prizes. So there's prizes, and we do that as an incentive more than anything, because we don't really love picking winners. It's actually a very hard process to pick a winner from a pool, just like a client. It's really hard to pick that one audition when there was 30 wonderful ones to compare it to, and any one of them could have got hired for it. But I see the letdown in people when they don't win, and it's like, ooh, we're creating a letdown too, and we don't want to create that atmosphere. That's the last thing.
And don't come back from a great weekend with your tail between your legs going, oh, my mom was probably right. I should get my contractor's license.
Exactly.
Again, just nobody is going to have a vested interest in you like you do.
Yeah.
And so you just keep that eye, and people look at the studio and look at my career and go, well, that's easy for you because was, and it was like, yeah, but where were you when I was sleeping on the freaking
It wasn't
couch?
easy.
Because
Not
I
at
had to
all.
have something now, and I mean, I had
And
zero. I had to lie, to Warner Brothers about
yeah,
having the fax line was down because I couldn't afford a fax machine.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
like,
Well,
you
that's the
know,
thing.
it
Those
was
people don't understand your journey. Anyone who owns a studio, if you had any understanding of what it's like to run such a thing, you wouldn't even say that. You wouldn't even consider saying that. It's a lot of naivety for a lot of people. People don't realize again, like I said, you grew up in LA, for God's sakes. That's a struggle right there. Just that alone. And becoming a performer in LA, even though that's the place to do it, it's still the struggle. That's a huge accolade.
well, it's
Stood
that I
out.
mean. But it's the same thing as anybody, you've put money out on training, you've spent
Yeah,
money on equipment, you've spent money,
exactly.
so don't give it away.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like
exactly.
you have a vested interest in you. It's not like somebody came up and said, "Let me give you this Neumann TLM 103, and here's a version of Pro." To like, "Oh, let me give you a new Mac." I mean, it's like,
Not at
no,
all.
you busted your butt to pay for that, and
Right.
probably put up. Are you sure you want to spend the money on that? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
lot of money. I mean, geez, you're trying. I mean, that's a hell of a. Can you really make this back? And
Yeah,
and we all put up with that negative. But just
absolutely.
once again, just put your head down and go for it. And if an
Believe in
award comes
yourself.
along for it, awesome. That's great, but don't pin everything just on that, because
And I
it's
think
not
that's
that. We both kind of been there, done that. I've got plenty of them, and it's like, it's why, look, the phone's still not ringing. It's like,
and
so,
I think that's the moral here, right? The award is within yourself, guys. It's not about whether you get something, and try not to let that be a gauge for you, even though it can be a good marketing tool. That's really about all it is what we think of it as,
yeah,
how we see it. It's just
sure.
a good marketing tool for clients, but it doesn't mean enough for them, because they're not making more money because they hire you because you won an award. They make more money when their project wins an award, when that film wins an award. That's when they're making some money, and
And
that's
it's
not what
and
this
like you
industry
said,
focuses
it's a great thing to set you a little bit apart from the herd,
on.
and go, oh, then this person, well, let's
That's
put them
right.
in the keeper pile. But it's not, they're not going to hire you specifically
No.
because
It just shows
of
some
something.
professionalism, which is good to have, but it doesn't mean the be all. I think for me, I probably use it more with my students than I do my actual clients, because I don't, go on award-winning talent, but I do with the students because I want them to know I'm not someone who doesn't. Because a lot of
Right.
coaches coach because they can't, and that's not my case, that's not your case, and a lot of us coaches, that's not our case. So I think I use that to say, look, I have been successful in this industry. I'm not someone who doesn't have the expertise to teach you what I'm teaching you, right? I think that's the reason I do that. But either way, anyway, thank you, Mark. It was a great conversation. I think that it's important, because I think a lot of the newer people up and coming don't understand this side of things, because they weren't a part of the industry from the birthing, and they don't know the longevity and the history, and what awards can do, what awards can't do. So just try not to take it too seriously. Have some fun with it. Submit it. It's okay if you get nominated. It's okay if you don't. But have fun in the industry. That's what this industry is. It's supposed to be a bit of fun, even though it's a lot of hard work at the same
Well,
time.
that, and you were still good and thought enough of whatever the project was to submit it,
Yes.
or
Yeah,
someone else submitted it. So regardless whether it wins the
that's true.
cast medal or doesn't, obviously there's still something about you and what you did
That's
that
right.
sets you a little bit above what everybody else is doing. So just go with that. Absolutely.
Exactly.
So
And our other moral, Sovas, narrow down the categories, man. You're giving out awards in the lobby. That ain't so cool. I just think it's crazy. They're giving out awards over here. Oh my gosh. Like,
And the next day is audiobook, best use of vowels. And it's sometimes those run a little lengthy. That's been a
yeah.
conversation with a
So
number of people.
we need a
But it's
separate
still,
category for audiobooks.
but it's still been, it's still a very tight organization. Jonah and Rudy run
Wonderfully, wonderfully done.
what they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
They've done a good job. I mean, I've watched it from the very beginning to where it is now,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they've really made a prestige for the industry, and I thank them for that. It's a wonderful thing to have that accolade. But we do want to try and keep it so people aren't falling asleep too, and that's it's a hard thing. I know
Balance. Yeah.
my coaching partner Ellie, she wanted to do an award show here, and I'm just like, wow, like that's serious work. Like that's not just a little tiny thing here. This is major. And she juries for the Emmys. And that isn't a nightmare for her alone, like just listening to all the Emmy tapes and trying to help
Oh
decide,
yeah.
you
Oh
know,
yeah.
it's a big deal,
I
guys.
had to bail on a couple of film commission things in states that wanted it just as a juror, and it was like, good Lord. I mean, it's
How do you
a
decide? Yeah.
massive
It
responsibility.
is. And so it's, you know, until you're in the eye of the beholder, guys, you don't know what it's like to go through that process of making that decision. No different than with the clients. You might have been the best person for the job, but that's not maybe why you booked. There's many different reasons why you book or why you might win an award. As we said, there could be all sorts of things involved in it politically, as well as for what you're doing skill wise. So don't take too hard to your heart too hardly, but at the same time, be proud of yourself, share yourself, and you know, celebrate you, right?
There you go. Hallelujah. It's a miracle of Jesus.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And congratulations again for your Lifetime Achievement Award. It's so deserved, Mark. You're just such a pleasure for the
Oh, that
industry.
was
I love you. I adore you. I think you offer so much for all of us, and I'm glad you're still sticking around with us.
hanging in there.
You're way too young to retire.
Yeah, there is that.
Until
All right.
next time, everybody, I'm Deb Munro.
I'm Marc Graue, and this is the Nitty Gritty.
A podcast with no boundaries that tells it like it is.
This ain't your mama's show.
This is the Nitty Gritty.